Welcome back. It seems like these are the only videos I can actually do, is how to repair something improperly. I messed up the hairspring and balance staff on this Omega 13.5. This is a very small little ladies watch. The movement's only about the size of my thumbnail. And we were gonna do a balance staff on it. My balance staff is very, very small. I'll tell you that much. This is just my bin of things to do, my projects. Here's the balance staff, and the watch has a center seconds, which is really cool. I like the blue center seconds hand with the gold case and gold numbering. It looked really good. So we've already done a clean and overhaul on this watch, and we just basically need to do the balance staff, and that's it. It also needs a crystal. You can see it's really snug fit in there, the movement to the back. With this style of watch, the movement holder is actually the back itself. You just kind of squeak in a sharp knife and kind of wiggle a little bit, and it comes free. That is a small movement. It's a little bit bigger than my thumbnail, but it's a cool watch. Get the movement chucked up in the movement holder. Now previously I had unscrewed the hairspring stud screw, and so that's why the balance cock just came off so easy. Now here's where the problem started. So number one, put this down on a hole that is just tight enough to hold that table in so it doesn't wiggle back and forth. Number two, don't use screwdrivers. I didn't have levers small enough, but as you see here, I wanted to mess up the hairspring. So I used screwdrivers and a hole that was not tight enough to secure that balance in place, resulting in completely screwing over the hairspring. So we'll have to fix that. There's a balance wheel. But still determined to do the staff, so I chucked this up in a roller jewel table roller remover. So that got removed. Now we're going to basically drive the staff out of that balance wheel. Find the correct hole, one that's just large enough that you can drive the staff out so you don't warp the balance wheel arms. And now I was going to use this holds the balance wheel flat to the table so that when you go to drive it out, the wheel doesn't bow up. But it was far too large and it did not work. I'm seeing if it'll reach the balance staff inside that little chuck, and it does not. So I just went for putting it right on the balance staff, and I tapped it really lightly to see if I can actually break that balance staff free, break that rivet, and luckily I was able to do that. But if it was far too hard, you don't go slamming on the balance staff because then you'll bow the arms up. The balance staff won't even get removed. You can ask me how I know that. So we got the balance staff removed. This wheel away. Here's the new balance staff. Put the wheel on the staff, right over that hub. And now you want to get a round stake to create the first part of the rivet. This pushes on the balance staff, pushing metal upwards, and we're going to lay it on top of the balance wheel arm with the flat stake. And so you drive the flat stake down, that metal that has been lifted up by the round stake is now flattened down onto the balance wheel arm. And to check to see if you have a proper rivet, for one, you can look at the microscope to see if you have a rivet, but to see if it actually held the staff to the wheel, to the balance arm, I take a little bit of pithwood and a pin vise. So I'm picking up the pithwood with the pivot of that new staff, and I take a pin vise and I hold the wheel and I go to turn the staff to see if that piece of pithwood will turn. And as you can see, it does. So the staff is not set properly in the balance arm. So we go back, we use another round stake to lift it up and hit a little bit harder. It brings up that metal, and then we go with a flat stake. drive that flat stake down, pushing that metal over the balance wheel arm and securing that rivet. Again with the pithwood test. This time, it's in there, nice and tight. You can actually see the pin vise moving on the staff because it's so tight in that wheel. Here I'm installing the wheel with nothing but the staff to see if it will fit, if it's the proper staff, number one, and to see if it will fit everything and spin freely. Also to see, I do this before I go to true the balance wheel. I just want to see if the balance wheel is wobbly in the watch. I don't know if that's the right way to do it or not, because I see most of the time you go to truing calipers, you can see if the balance wheel is wobbly. I noticed there wasn't any big change, and see it's fine. There's a slight wobble, and so I was going to bring it to the truing calipers and really figure out where that little bend is and tweak it. But I do this first just to see. I can see it with the other components of the watch, and it's a better view for me. Pivots fit good with the joint. It's the correct staff, basically, so that's good. And the balance wheel does need to be trued a little bit. So now, once I got that done, I'm going to now fix the hairspring, essentially, and this is very, very bent. It is very, very bent. This is 4x speed. I'm just trying to get those coils all lined up, evenly spaced, get the kinks out of them. Make sure the hairspring isn't bent off to one side or bent off to the other side. All the coils are flat. This is extremely important. Working with such a little watch, it's much easier to have problems if you're not careful. We're getting closer and closer here. Now the coils all have to lay flat with that collet. Pulling it up and pulling it down. Okay. Now I had to close the collet so it would fit onto the balance staff. I've installed it onto the balance cock now to see if the hairspring, what it looks like inside the watch. See how it breathes and whatnot. Make sure it all works properly. Pick this up, install it into the movement. Alright, we are installed, and I'm shaking it to see how the coils are reacting and the oscillation of the balance wheel. And it looks okay. It definitely needs to be better. And so this is what I was going to be working on. And so here, this is another problem. You do not hold the balance cock and balance wheel, the balance assembly, you don't hold it to unscrew that hairspring stud. You don't. And so we break the top pivot on the balance staff, the newly installed balance staff. The proper way to do it is just with the balance installed, everything's all installed, you go and you take a screwdriver and you unscrew the stud screw. That's it, just like I did the first time. But I guess I was rushing myself and I decided to break off that pivot. So, that's what not to do when replacing a balance staff. You break the hairspring and the pivot. Yeah, that's it. Have a nice day, guys.